tell you the truth, I can't remember what I was thinking while it was happening.
Storm, live, thunder, lightning.
Coming to your street. It's coming to...
When we come back, we're going to have more information on the deadly tornado outbreak.
It was a monster tornado with the highest winds ever recorded.
Making sure there's homes that are completely off their foundation. There's nothing left.
Storms don't start with lightning. They start with tension. And in Oklahoma in the spring of '99, that tension was already in the air. May 3rd would leave a scar across Oklahoma's landscape, but the atmosphere made its intentions known exactly 1 month earlier. On April 3rd, from East Texas to Northwest Louisiana, several strong tornadoes, including an F4, damaged 455 homes and businesses and sadly claimed the lives of 7 people. Just days later, on April 8th and 9th, another outbreak occurred, producing 54 confirmed tornadoes across the Midwest, including an F4 that struck Blue Ash and Montgomery, Ohio, resulting in 4 fatalities. The storm caused $82 million worth of damage. Each outbreak was a grim reminder tornadoes remain one of nature's least understood killers. In 1994, researchers launched a field campaign that would change how tornadoes were studied. The verification of the origins of rotation in tornadoes experiment, or Vortex, was a 2-year project in 1994 and 1995, designed to answer a number of ongoing questions about the cause of tornado formation. The Vortex project was the first time radars and instrumentation were mobile, making it possible to go out in the field and study supercells in great detail. Then, in 1999, Vortex 99 was introduced. Using a fleet of mobile measurement vehicles and mobile Doppler radars, they teamed up with meteorologist Josh Warman, who brought on 2 Doppler on wheels, or DOW, radar trucks to work with Vortex 99. These truck-mounted radars could scan supercell storms, giving an unprecedented X-ray view of storms if and when they form. And on the morning of May 3rd, the atmosphere looked tame. In fact, the Vortex 99 forecasters gave only a 30% chance of any thunderstorms and about a 10% chance of tornadoes, having only a slight risk for Oklahoma. One internal message noted, although supercells are likely, tornadoes are not so likely. At the Storm Prediction Center, an invisible drama was unfolding. A massive upper-level trough, essentially a huge dip in the jet stream, had carved into the western side of the U.S. This deep atmospheric wave was quietly priming the environment for disaster. Beneath this ominous setup, the computer models meteorologists used to predict weather were inconsistent, underestimating wind speeds in the middle and upper troposphere. And as these strong winds ejected into the plains of Oklahoma, it drew in warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, creating a volatile brew of heat and humidity, the classic recipe for tornado development. What the models overlooked, the evolving atmosphere began to confirm, and by late morning, reality began to outpace the models. Temperatures rose, moisture deepened, and by 11:15 a.m., meteorologists upgraded the threat level from slight to moderate.
Some details on the tornado watch, the number 195, and it'll run until 10 o'clock tonight.
May 3rd, 1999, north of Wichita Falls. We got the CB developing here in Comanche County, just north of the Red River, near Lawton. You're looking north. Got a clearing in the Cirrus there, and there's a couple of storms out west of us, Altus and Quantum, and they'll be coming this way.
Very nice looking cell. McCarthy just said potential for large hail in this storm.
That can change rapidly.
Then again, springtime, things can change rapidly.
High above Oklahoma, wind speeds were accelerating, and at 3:49 p.m., meteorologists raised their outlook from a moderate risk to a rare high risk. Just beyond the high-risk zone, north of the town of Lawton, the first signs of tornadic activity emerged. 2 brief EF0 tornadoes touched down in the open terrain. Storm chasers Gene Roden was already in pursuit, while KWTV's Val and Amy Castor provided live updates, keeping Oklahomans informed as the storm began to intensify. The storm briefly lifted, only to reorganize and strengthen, then touch back down around 5:20 p.m. near the rural southwest Oklahoma community of Strecker. A family's 2-story home was obliterated. Inside, a husband and wife and their daughter were injured as the violent winds tore the structure apart around them. As the tornado lifted, the storm continued north, producing funnel clouds. Then only 10 minutes later, the storm produced a high-end EF3 tornado near Chickasha.
It's very well defined. I mean, this thing is still a wedge. I mean, it has no signs of lifting. This is definitely going to be a long track tornado.
As Val and Amy Castor drive east, KOCO News tries to survey the damage as the tornado passes.
Large fat wedge! There's severe damage! Trees just literally leveled.
As Val and Amy Castor and KOCO News drive east in a race to get footage and warn the public, a small EF0 satellite tornado touches down. The satellite tornado twisted and danced around the dominant funnel.
We got pairs. We're trying to do our best in the hills here.
2 tornadoes directly next to each other. Unbelievable!
The storm then briefly lifted, only to touch back down just 2 minutes later, next to Highway 62, where KOCO News cameras capture the dramatic footage as a tornado crossed the road right in front of them.
Tornado's reforming directly in front of us. Stop, stop, stop! Don't go past the light. Listen to me. Stop here. Let me video. Stop. Watch for power flashes. It's going in there. It's in the road.
After damaging a home and snapping trees like twigs, the tornado tore through Chickasha Municipal Airport, destroying multiple aircraft and leveling an aviation's part shop.
It was loud. We watched as long as we could stand, and then we went in the ladies' bathroom, you know. That camera won't do it justice. You know, we're out of business for a while.
In the air, KWTV News 9 had been following the storm's path from its inception, with the purpose of warning Oklahoma residents.
Looking like it is moving a little bit to the east, over toward Highway 92 now, right in the Amber area.
The voice of these warnings is meteorologist Gary England, working at KWTV.
Tornado. Stay with us here on 9, we'll keep you advised. Tornado warning continues now and has been extended officially. I gave this to you earlier, but extended over into Oklahoma County, let's call it, they're calling all of Oklahoma County, but right now mainly it looks like it would be the eastern one half of Oklahoma County.
Gary became chief meteorologist in 1996, keeping Oklahoma safe. And while Oklahoma City had been lucky with close calls and glancing blows, Gary was sure that one day a massive and violent F5 tornado would drop from the skies without warning upon the populated metro area of Oklahoma. The destruction of such an event would be tremendous. And without ample warning time for viewers and listeners to take shelter, the loss of life would be unimaginable. Gary don't know it yet, but his coverage during the May 3rd, 1999 F5 tornado will undoubtedly save lives in and around Oklahoma Metro. And as the storm leaves the airport and approaches Amber, storm chasers kept up to provide live updates to residents across Oklahoma, and among them was Mike Duncan with KFOR News. Filming under an overpass, the footage he was filming would soon flash across television screens throughout Oklahoma, with residents watching the storm unfold in real time, some not yet realizing it was heading straight for them. Just northwest of Mike, the sub-Vortex crew, KOCO News, and storm chaser Oliver Smith film as the storm passes over Amber.
That's like, what, a quarter mile away?
There's downtown Oklahoma City. There's more. You go to the west more.
side of the low-level mesocyclone on the east side, rotating around it.
Tornado number 5, we see tornado number 5.
As the storm moves east, cameras capture the entire structure rotating in clear view, like the atmosphere itself was winding up for something catastrophic. Just east of Amber, storm chaser and reporter with KFOR News, David Payne, captures a terrifying visual. The storm expands before his eyes, becoming a monster that dwarfs the landscape. As the sky darkens and the winds roar to life, storm chasers and reporters across the region begin to realize the extreme magnitude of the situation unfolding before them. With every passing moment, the storm grows more violent, more destructive, and far more dangerous than anyone first anticipated.
A mile east of Amber, and over my shoulder now the tornado coming to the ground again, and what you're looking at there is a violent, rapidly rotating tornado, estimated width there about an eighth to maybe a quarter of a mile wide, and again winds in there approaching 200 miles an hour. Where we are, we have winds flowing into the tornado right now at about 70 to 80 miles an hour.
Tornado in Grady County. Gosh, I hope that misses my house.
Big tornado. Very large tornado. Hear that roar?
Large wedge tornado on the ground about 2 miles southeast or east-southeast of the town of Amber.
Yeah, we see the whole darn thing coming down again, Val.
Yeah, and it's headed in a bad direction.
As the tornado crosses County Street 2900, KOCO news cameras capture the tornado as it heads for its first neighborhood. It begins to intensify rapidly, now at F4 intensity. What was moments ago a developing funnel has now become a powerful wedge tornado, growing wider and stronger by the second.
Here, there's people. Go. Just go. Power line, stop! Stop! This monster's about to cross the road. Watch on the right side for power lines exploding. Just simply a huge tornado.
A few miles east of Amber, it moves into a small neighborhood. Several homes are severely damaged. The tornado leaves behind signs of extreme force. Grass is pulled from the ground by its roots, and a refrigerator from one house is found half a mile away, pierced through by a 6-foot shard of wood. Even lightweight objects become dangerous in winds this strong. Playing cards are driven so deeply into nearby tree trunks that they couldn't be pulled out. As the tornado crossed Sand Rock Road in front of David, sections of pavement nearly an inch thick were ripped from the ground and shattered like glass. The tornado was now entering Bridge Creek, fully evolved into an F5 monster. Multiple cameras captured it from different angles as it tore through the landscape. What followed would become some of the most extreme tornado damage ever documented.
Man, that thing is huge.
That's huge. I've never seen one that big.
How the
if it hits us?
Oh, well, this thing's gone. If it hits us, we're...
Or the house?
Yeah, if
that thing hits anything, it's gone.
Anything around here, it's history.
Southwest of the, west-southwest of Norman.
I've never seen a tornado this large before, and I've seen lots of tornadoes. This thing is huge.
Track, very rare event. These usually account for only about 2% of all tornadoes. They are deadly. You need to be below ground level to survive.
There's nothing left of the homes. The tornado passed about 200 yards to me. I had winds to probably 120 miles an hour in my vehicle. Power lines down, all kinds of power lines down. Major damage to the east of Amber.
It's probably 8. I think it's 8 miles from. You think it's at Amber or this side of Amber?
He said it was southeast.
Southeast of Amber?
There goes some power lines. I just seen the flash.
All kinds of damage here. There's homes that are completely off their foundation. There's nothing left.
Let's clarify that. You're saying that there are homes that have been swept off their foundation and they're gone. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh my
Look at the
Lord.
stuff in the air.
Oh,
look at the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
The F5 mile-wide tornado, now moving into 3 subdivisions, Willow Lake, Southern Hills, and Bridge Creek, had become one of the most violent ever documented. It first encountered Willow Lake, unleashing astonishing power as it effortlessly picked up trailers from their anchors and ripped them into pieces. 2 well-built frame homes were totally wiped clean from the ground beneath them. Even the steel plates were ripped from the concrete slabs of the homes in Willow Lake from the relentless F5 winds. Some of the most intense vehicle damage ever documented took place here, being thrown 1.5 miles away and completely mangled beyond recognition. Trees of all sizes were stripped down to the bare trunks. Low-lying shrubs were yanked out of the soil entirely. In some places, the ground was scoured at least a foot deep.
If it stays down and hits the city, it's going to be unreal.
Oh man, they're gonna. Gotta watch them lights on the toll gates fixing.
I know, they're fixing, yeah.
And them people still in the toll gate, they are sick. You see the, look at, there's a car behind it on the
it's that right behind it. Up there, right behind it.
Or they're gone. And I drove to the damage path. I clocked it. It's a half. I'm not going to say an F5 because the damage it's hitting, but
I don't know if they can see what we're seeing, if the picture's really clear, but this is just phenomenal, Mike.
Just south of Willow Lake, meteorologist Josh Warman parks in front of Mike Duncan, scanning the storm. The radar locks onto something staggering, wind speeds of 302 miles per hour. At the time, it was the strongest wind speeds ever recorded on Earth, only to be beaten by itself. In 2021, a reanalysis of the data showed the tornado's winds actually peaked at 321 miles per hour, pushing it beyond the original F5 scale. Just down Interstate 35 in Norman, Oklahoma, at the National Weather Service, forecasters already sent out tornado warnings. But for many across central Oklahoma, they'd become background noise. The gravity of the situation wasn't getting through. Science and Operations Officer David Andrea made a pivotal decision at 6:57 p.m. He typed out a stark new message and pushed it across every available channel, weather radios, emergency managers, and local broadcasters. The term tornado emergency didn't exist in the official National Weather Service playbook, but David Andrea used it anyway. The message read, "Tornado emergency in South Oklahoma City metro area. At 6:57 p.m., a large tornado was moving along Interstate 44 west of Newcastle. On its present path, this large damaging tornado will enter southwest sections of the Oklahoma City metro area between 7:15 and 7:30 p.m. persons in Moore and South Oklahoma City should take immediate tornado precautions. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. If you are in the path of this large and destructive tornado, take cover immediately. Doppler radar has indicated the storm may contain destructive hail to the size of baseballs or larger. As the strongest winds ever recorded on Earth move across southern hills, 26-year-old single mother Kara quickly led her 6-year-old son Jordan to the bathroom. They climbed into the tub as the storm bore down. Their home was taken by the wind, breaking it apart in seconds. In less than 2 minutes, Southern Hills was reduced to a memory. The tornado, a mile-wide engine of destruction, churned through the neighborhood like a monstrous grinder, swallowing everything in its path and leaving behind a twisted stew of splintered lumber, shredded insulation, crushed vehicles, and the mangled remains of daily life. When Jordan opened his eyes, the world he knew had vanished. Dirt clung to every surface, as if the ground itself had exploded upward, leaving behind a scene that more resembled the surface of Mars than the once familiar hills of central Oklahoma. Unfortunately, his mother didn't survive. As the tornado begins to cross North Council Avenue, just a mile northwest is 16th Street Overpass, where Kevin Weber, his 2 friends, Scott Pittman, a mother Kathleen, and her son Levi, are frantically trying to take shelter. The winds dipped slightly to an F4. The overpass acted as a wind tunnel, funneling debris and compressing the wind, accelerating it up to 60 miles per hour. The structure itself lifted momentarily from the winds. While slabs of metal were jabbed between the concrete before the overpass slammed back into place. As the tornado neared the overpass, it morphed from a mud-wrapped wedge to a more compact, violent stovepipe. Kevin Weber was struck by flying debris. Scott Pittman suffered a severe leg injury when a metal highway sign slammed into him. As Scott gripped the steel beams above, the tornado pulled him loose and his body, quote, waved like a flag, smashing him repeatedly against the concrete as the 260-mile-per-hour winds funneled under the overpass. Kathleen's arms wrapped tightly around her son, and as the winds grew too strong, she told her son Levi to shut his eyes. She told him she loved him, and then she let go. According to her friends, Kathleen Walton was caring and generous to a fault, always willing to help others in need.
You folks all the way. I just trying to get rid of that box. Live coverage of the very severe storm, tornado now in the Oklahoma City metro area. And again,
these people look to be injured from the tornado. Keep pressure on that wound. Keep pressure on that wound.
That was the scariest thing I've ever been through in my life. I'm actually studying to be a meteorologist, so I just came out here to, I've never seen a tornado, and I just came out here to see it, and being in it was unreal.
As the tornado shifts, approaching another overpass, where a woman named Tammy and her 2 young daughters are taking shelter, along with Associated Press photographer Pat J. Carter.
Okay. It's obviously moving through populated area. Right. It's approaching the river, getting ready to move into. Yeah, with the stovepipe, we're getting on. You see the power flashes, Val?
As the tornado approached the interstate, it passed within 250 yards of Tammy, her daughters, and Carter.
This tornado has a well-defined circulation. There's been some decrease in intensity, but that doesn't mean anything with these particular storms.
As the tornado grazed by them, a F-0 satellite appeared. Carter reached for his camera, taking this picture. As the tornado crossed the Canadian River, the suburb of Moore was becoming a scene of unnerving surreality. Tornado sirens echoed as bits of shingles and insulation fell. Residents watched as power flashes lit the sky, marking the storm's arrival on Moore's doorstep.
It's moving into Moore. It's moving into South Oklahoma City. It continues with a wide damage path. It is so large you can hardly tell. Now what are we looking at right here?
Go ahead,
so it's past the river. There's the river right there. That's the river. So he's looking northeast across the river. Tornado's moving on into southwest Oklahoma City. That's
Gary?
not, yes.
Gary, it looks like it's on 149th, southwest 149th Street.
I agree.
It's due east of us. We're on 149th right now.
We're on 149th right now. It's probably a mile due east of me.
You're gonna run into him!
I see it about 149th Val and about Pennsylvania Avenue.
The tornado badly damaged a row of homes along South Drexel Avenue. Quickly regaining its former strength, it again began ripping grass from the ground as it cut across Southwest 149th Street.
Gary, it's a half a mile to the left, right in front of us. It's leveled a couple houses over here on 149th Street.
Trying to figure out, it's probably very near May.
North of 149th Street on May.
It's north of 149th Street on May. Val has a tornado. Val has a tornado 149th Street and May. The damage path is so wide. Tornado is so wide. Let me tell you. Tornado warning for Alfalfa County in northwest Oklahoma. We'll come back to in just a second. You look at Alfalfa County. Details on that right there. Golf ball size hail north of Taker. But let me tell you, anywhere, this is once again southeast north.
The tornado then crossed South May Avenue, where again intense ground scouring was documented.
This storm is moving into West Moore as we speak. You should have already taken your tornado precautions in the Moore area, southwest Oklahoma City.
It's moving quick, man. You want to go further north?
Yes.
Let's roll north.
Hold on.
Got ready to roll north?
The tornado struck Country Place Estates with tremendous force, destroying dozens of homes as it barreled through a brand new subdivision. Homes were picked up and hurled by the winds as it blew away the interior walls.
Now it's moving Dell City, Tinker, Moore. Huge tornado, deadly tornado, back to Ranger 9. Very wide path tornado continues.
As the tornado approached East Lake Estates, a camera was left recording on the windowsill moments before a family fled to the safety of their basement. Their home took a glanced blow, shattering glass, torn siding, and a roof gashed open by debris. But just 700 yards away, entire houses were reduced to rubble. As gripping as the footage is, it's a sound that truly unsettles. A monstrous, unrelenting roar that seems to shake the very ground. This is the voice of destruction itself. An F5. In this area, a large section of an airplane wing was found. Police reported that it had been ripped from one of the aircraft destroyed at the Chickasha Municipal Airport, nearly 30 miles away. In East Lake, a couple had recently completed a fortified safe room, engineered to withstand the full fury of an F5 tornado. But even behind steel-reinforced walls, the sound was deafening. The husband would later describe it as 1,000 Niagara Falls crashing down at once. When they emerged, their home was no longer standing. Only outlines of the foundation remained.
Scott, whoa, whoa. You see those, Scott? This is absolutely incredible. Okay, this is a damaged path across parts, I don't know what it's more.
As the tornado roared across Southwest 126th Street, the F5 winds came within 200 yards of Westmore High School, where hundreds had taken shelter. The building sustained roof damage, but miraculously, everyone inside survived. On the east side of Western Avenue, the Emerald Spring apartment complex took a direct hit. Several two-story buildings were obliterated. One of them reduced to rubble and partially scoured from its foundation. 3 lives were lost here, and more than a dozen residents were injured. On the other side of town, Keith Lee begins filming from his backyard as the sky above Western Avenue pulses with power flashes.
It's headed right in front of me. Yep, I see it. It looks like it's about a half a mile from us. It's headed right at my parents' house, and I'm fixing to go for cover.
Just northwest of Keith, KFOR News sets up a camera on Southeast 89th and I-35.
At South 89th and I-35. Now you can see it. There it is. We're going to stay with this one for a while as well and just go back and forth between the chopper and the ground shot. There is the tornado on the ground. You're at South 89th Street and I-35. That's just to the south of Crossroads Mall. You're looking toward the southwest from Crossroads Mall.
Large explosion.
And there's...
Large explosion.
Tremendous, folks. We have to just express to you this is 200-mile-per-hour winds plus now moving as safe as you possibly can. There's the live picture from Southeast 89th and I-35. That's just to the south of Crossroads Mall. You're looking toward the south, and there's the large tornado on the ground now moving through downtown Moore. Let's go back to our chopper shot. Cleveland County until it at least gets past I-35. There's a chance it could move up toward Tinker Air Force Base. You folks in Midwest City, south sides of Dell City, Tinker Air Force Base along I-240 over to Lake Stanley Draper. It is headed directly your way. There's our live picture from I-35 and Southeast 89th. If you live over near Tinker Air Force Base, you need to think about where you need to go to stay safe and take your battery-operated radio on. Folks, if you're listening on
across right now, you can see the explosion.
If you are south of 89th Street on I-35, get in a hole, get in a ditch, get out of your car on I-35. You folks listening to...
In the Regency Park neighborhood, the tornado carved out a zone of nearly total devastation, roughly 150 yards wide. Entire homes were swept from their foundation. In one case, a bolt-anchored gun safe was ripped from the slab and launched into a nearby home, collapsing part of the roof. Keith Lee keeps filming as a steady growing roar is heard throughout Oklahoma. The tornado swirls debris across Keith's neighborhood as the storm carved its path just beyond his backyard. Dan Anderson with KFOR News films as the tornado crosses I-35, completely destroying homes with F5 intensity.
Mike, there you can see it on the ground.
That's
very
a horrific
dangerous
sight.
situation. Our worst fears really are realized.
Yes.
A major tornado on the ground in a major metropolitan area. Dangerous situation, not since June 13th.
You can hear
we
it.
see.
You can hear it
often
from South
hear.
89th Street.
Let's be quiet for just a second. We'll see if we can hear that.
You can hear the roar. You can hear the tornado from 89th Street. You can hear the roar.
Again, those listening on radio, you are going to be occasionally experiencing some power outages because these storms are moving into the metro area. We're going to have
Let's stay with that
some
shot. Look at the debris.
powers.
Look at all the debris. Look at all the debris in the air. Folks, please, we plead with you. You absolutely have got to get down. Get to the lowest level you possibly can. We plead with you, do not take the extra minute or two. We plead with you to get below ground, get in the interior closet or bathroom, get in the bathtub. We plead with you. There it is crossing Interstate 35. There is a tremendous amount of debris in the air. We pray and plead with you, please get down now. If you're I-35, get out of your car. If you're east of I-35 over to Tinker Air Force Base, please, we plead with you, go to your safe spot now, take your radio, forget the live pictures, go get safe. Oh my gosh.
89, South 89.
Folks, we plead with you, just go to your safe spot if you possibly can. That's an F. Look at the horizontal vortex. That is an F4 to an F5 tornado. That's winds of 250 miles an hour.
All right, we're asking our crew right now to shut down, get out, and get out of there. This is a dangerous situation.
Turnpike, and right here, I believe this is as it's crossing over I-35 into Moore. Once again, you can see the transformers blowing or power lines going, and you can see the intensity of it because some of those transformers were blowing well ahead.
As the tornado barreled across Interstate 35, Stuart Ernest and more than a dozen people rushed up the embankment, hoping the overpass would offer shelter. But the Shields Boulevard Bridge had no steel beams to cling to, just a smooth, flat underside and a narrow wedge between the concrete and the slope. When the winds passed, only Stuart Ernest was still there, bruised, battered, but
Extreme
alive.
damage. People were hiding underneath the bridge. Their cars are flattened. At least 50 casualties, no fatalities that I can confirm at this point.
Gary. Yes.
A separate tornado. The first tornado we were following has lifted.
Okay.
We have another large tornado to our southwest.
That is incredible.
Gary.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Are you there? It looks like it's coming across 240 now.
Say again?
It looks like it's coming across I-240 in Douglas.
I-240 and what?
It's wet. Where's it at?
It's coming across I-240 in
Yeah, it
Douglas
looks like
in
it's
the south of
crossing
Oklahoma
I-240.
City.
The tornado, bulldozing neighborhood after neighborhood, approached I-240. A 36,000-pound freight car was lifted from the railroad tracks north of the interstate and blown nearly 3/4 of a mile. A series of deep gorge marks indicate the car was airborne for between 50 to 100 yards at a time, briefly bouncing off the ground in between. Once again, the tornado swept through an entire subdivision. Del Air was utterly obliterated. Row after row, dozens of homes were completely destroyed. Trees were fully debarked. Near the center of the damaged path, virtually every blade of grass was pulled from the ground. 6 residents didn't survive. A few minutes later, the storm finally lifted. As the reality sets in as to what just happened, survivors become first responders, rescuing anyone they can.
This is phenomenal. It's gone. The neighborhood is gone. We are over a neighborhood just west of Tinker Air Force Base. It is gone, Mike. Up here, Steve. Up here. Pan up here. I mean, we come around and pull back. It's gone. It's leveled. There's nothing here. I mean, it's incredible. The damage, there must be 350 homes, Mike, that are gone. It's just foundations and rubble.
The massive F5 tornado cut a 38-mile path of devastation, leveling entire neighborhoods in minutes. By the time the skies cleared, 36 people had lost their lives, over 580 were injured, and thousands of homes lay in ruin. The immediate aftermath revealed the best of Oklahoma's spirit. In the hours after the storm, neighbors, first responders, and volunteers raced into action to help one another, even as many were victims themselves. As one local officer recalled, people wanted to help however they could help. Residents with intact vehicles drove the injured to hospitals, and even city employees who had lost their homes were out working and helping others that very night. One man's home was torn from its foundation and hurled over 100 feet, yet somehow he stepped out of the closet without a scratch. Everyday objects became weapons. In one child's bedroom, a single roof shingle was found embedded deep in the drywall. In Bridge Creek, a church that once stood was simply gone. No rubble, no splinters, only a bare concrete slab, as if some invisible cleanup crew had swept it clean in a single breath. In the same area, a mother named Amy Cargo and her 10-month-old baby named Alea took shelter in her closet as her home was obliterated around her. Alea had been literally ripped from her mother's arms by the tornado's winds. Amy was frantic as she was rushed to the hospital, injured and unable to find her daughter. Deputy Sheriff Robert Jolly had found Alea alive.
So I reached under and pulled the baby out. When I pulled the baby out, her little eyes, her little ears were packed with mud. When I started brushing it away, the baby cried.
Amy was reunited with her daughter at the hospital. She said, "I think she survived by the grace of God."
A young lady and her mom survived by jumping in kind of a hole in their house. Here's what the mother had to say.
I was already in there. She just barely got in there and closed the door and it hit.
What did it sound like?
Freight train.
Channel 9. And his wife and grandbaby and son was already over there in the cellar next door. And he said, "Let's go." And we wasn't in there 2 minutes till it hit. We could hear it just a roaring.
By looking at it, Gary said you had to be underground to live through this.
Yeah,
and it's true.
yeah.
You guys were underground.
Yeah.
So what did it sound like?
Oh, it sounded like a train, a big freight train coming through, and just when it got on top of us, we could hear stuff hitting the cellar door.
My stomach just dropped when I saw this, and I realized that yes, that's where my house was, and I would just. And when I found out everybody was okay, it didn't matter. So I can't imagine a wind strong enough hitting a house, and it literally explodes. It had to explode because I find the big items, the freezers, the washer and dryer, the big items that are heavy are gone. It's just the little things is what I find that just fell down in some little crack somewhere. But the big stuff, cars that I've never seen before is here, you know. I personally cannot picture that kind of wind.
And I was underneath the sofa in the hallway.
The question we always ask is, what did it sound like? What did it feel like?
I really can't describe it. It was just tremendous force inside the house. Just got hit with glass shards and dirt everywhere. And then it took a while, but it finally passed. After that, I could see daylight all through my house.
One of the survivors was Jim Huff. He took shelter in his home. His son was thrown 45 feet out near the yard. His whole family survived.
Our patio, or our den, was right out here, and I was at the door, just over this side of it, looking out the door at the tornado as it came across the field in front of us. My son was upstairs watching, and together we came into the dining room and went into the bathroom, and my wife and I were laying on the floor there as the tornado went over and blew us away. When I was looking up into the eye of the tornado, it was like looking through a straw. You could see the walls of the tornado, and you can see anything that you could imagine going around on the inside of this thing, but there was nothing. It was just a hollow tube all the way to the top, to that come to the bottom of the cloud where it came out of. And it looked to me like it was straight up at least 300 or 400 feet. And you could see anything that you could imagine: automobiles, trucks, pieces of houses, pieces of cars, pieces of machinery, some things you couldn't even describe. And it looked like boulders and blocks of cement, just anything you can imagine. And it was just so quiet and peaceful in the center of it.
In the storm's aftermath, survivors publicly credited Gary England for guiding them to safety. His calm voice and precise instructions were quite literally the difference between life and death for many of Oklahomans on that fateful day.
In my childhood, it was watch Gary England. You know, got to turn Gary on.
He's very important. If he hadn't been on there would have been a lot of people killed, really.
He saved our lives. I don't have enough thank yous for him, and I don't know what we'd do without him in Oklahoma.
As one of the strongest tornadoes on record bore down on Moore, Gary England paused during live coverage to speak directly to children who were home alone. In a calm but urgent voice, he assured them they would be all right and gave clear step-by-step instructions for safety.
Once again, for you children that are home, get a lot of pillows, a lot of blankets, and get in the bathtub, get in between the stool and the wall, pack those pillows and blankets, coats, whatever in there with you. If you don't have a cellar or a basement in the middle part of your house, go to a north wall or an east wall and get as many clothes and pillows and blankets around you. Get down on the floor and cover up your head and your face.
Gary England revolutionized severe weather warnings with a series of groundbreaking innovations that improved public safety. He pushed for KWTV to acquire the first Doppler weather radar in U.S. broadcasting. This gave viewers up to 10 extra minutes to seek shelter. In 1991, he launched Storm Tracker, a computer program that projected a storm's path and estimated arrival times for towns in its way. Thanks to these efforts, Gary England set the national standard for broadcasting meteorologists. How Americans receive life-saving tornado alerts to this day. A core lesson of 1999 was that many homes had simply been too weak for an F5. Few houses had proper foundation bolts or roof clips. Moore's disaster response infrastructure also evolved. In 1999, the city had few public tornado shelters, but federal and local authorities pushed shelter building in the aftermath. A multi-year program funded by FEMA and state grants poured about $12 million into the Regional Safe Room Initiative. In the months and years that followed, survivors and their neighbors rebuilt not only their homes, but their lives. Block by block, what had been splintered debris was transformed into new homes, schools, and businesses, often constructed stronger and safer than before. Through hard work and faith, and the helping hands of volunteers, the people of Oklahoma turned devastation into renewal. The rebuilt homes and lives, forged from the rubble, stand as enduring proof that even the most violent storm could not break their spirit.